morning and welcome to another interesting edition of VOP this morning. Today is Tuesday and it's also the 8th day in the month of July 2025. I am Fina Okechukwu, and on the show today we have quite an interesting lineup for you. And one of the topic of conversation is that survey reveals that 79% to 83% of Nigerians lack trust in Tinubu-led Executive National Assembly and also the judiciary. And that this particular one has sparked reactions as people are beginning to ask, then how come we have people who we don't even trust man the affairs of our own society?
Interesting conversation we have this morning. A very good morning to you, and we bid you welcome to VOP this morning. My name is David Edwin. Again, another conversation that we'll be looking at this beautiful morning is the FCT Minister, who says Nigeria was practically dead before Bola Ahmed Tinubu took over office. Well, this is another conversation that we'll be having this morning, and we urge you to stay with us as we go with this.
ADC accuses Tinubu's allies of secret meeting with coalition members to destabilize party. That, of course, also on our table this morning. I am Moses Humphrey. Now, let's also touch on a few conversations that Nigerians are having. One of them, of course, would be the launch of a state-owned airline. That's the Enugu State Airline, Enugu Air, that's what it's called, at the Akanu Airport. Now, this has marked a significant milestone in the state's push for economic growth and development. The inaugural flights took off yesterday, signaling a new chapter in regional aviation and also showcasing what the government describes as a model partnership between the public and the private sectors. Well, Governor Peter Mbah said the initiative reflects his administration's broader vision to position Enugu as a leading hub for investment, tourism, and quality living in Nigeria. Quite a laudable move, I must say. Enugu Air kicking off with 3 Embraer aircrafts. And it's quite good. They would also have the cargo wing to it. Cargo flights will also take place there. Laudable one. But I do hope that the inherent problems with the Akanu Airport will not arise again, because we've had more repairs in recent time. There was a repair done in April this year, and in previous years, in about 10 years, they've had 2 wholesome repairs done on the airport. And with the large deposit of coal in the area, the ground is prone to some sort of rupture, and that will affect landing and taking off of aircrafts. But with this repairs done and flights taking off, like I said, I hope we will not have a situation where flights will be diverted, to other airports, which of course will put people in, we know that from some of these airports, the journey between Enugu and, Anambra and some other places, you might have insecurity on some of these routes. And of course, you don't want people to spend hours on the road just because they want to get to Enugu, but they have to land somewhere else and then have to move via road to somewhere else and experience insecurity. So I hope that will be done, and we'll have, flights will just continue, because it would be nice to have airports around the country, all airports, functioning. That would be very, very nice, I must say.
The huge question would be, how affordable can that be?
Can what be?
The flight tickets.
Well, I don't think that's a problem. Tickets all over right now is slightly on the high side. It depends on what you're comparing it to.
And at the time you want to move as well.
Tickets right now are slightly on the high side because airlines are, because of Jet A1, availability of it and all of that. So tickets are slightly high, but it all depends on when you book. A trip, an hour's trip now should cost between 70,000 to about 90,000, depending on how early you book the flight.
Okay.
So between 70 to 90,000. Of course, you are not comparing it to when it used to be 23,000. We know that things have gone up.
Oh yes.
So, but for this airline, since it's a new, a new airline, it will be normal for them to reduce
the price.
To reduce the tickets so people can rush in. But going forward, it might just go up a little bit. When Ibom Air started, there are flights where tickets were reduced, but when you go there are certain things you need to pay for at the airport, because some of those things were not collected. Some of those fees were not collected by NCAA. So you would have to pay for, like, to check in. There are certain things you pay for. I remember the last time I went through the airport to Calabar, you would have to pay some things right there, things that ordinarily would have been embedded in your tickets. Yes, but I'm sure they've sorted all of that out. So I don't think flights are expensive.
To be very honest and fair, it's a laudable one for the Enugu state government. But again, another question that goes to mind is the fact that how competitive would these be, owing to the fact that there are some private owned airlines at this time that are also doing very well. And Nigerians, for who we are, we want to go for whoever would give us that comfort and not stress us when it comes to wanting to book your flight tickets and all of that. But I'm hoping that these particular conversation that we're having, particularly on the Enugu Air, would maybe give some level of hope and investment to that state. And also not looking at the fact that some quarters have said that hoping this is not a political move for, political capital, like to make a statement on the part of the governor. But if the governor is doing this to really, really help the people, and of course, create that atmosphere for people who truly want to enjoy tourism in that state, then I think it's something laudable that we need to commend as all time.
Believe me, Enugu Airport, Akanibiam Airport have been there. It have been there since October 22, 1976. That was when it began its first operation, full-blown operation. So that airport happens to be one of the oldest in Nigeria, if I'm to use that word. And they've been doing well. It was a one-time an international airport. I could remember using that for, a particular international trip some time ago. And, that actually being established. When you talk about Enugu Air coming on board or coming upstream at this point in time, I watched the water arc, the water salute, and that we do that actually a lot in aviation. That's anytime we want to take a first flight or land off a new aircraft, we always do the water arc, the water salute. And then I said, okay, this is more like a dream come true. Ibom Air are working very well. They're one of the best. I'm not trying to, they did not pay me for this, so I'm not doing a showbiz for them, but the fact that a state government is involved in that operation, I, for one, can sense some sense of decorum in it. The way and manner which they operate is different from the way most other airlines actually run their thing, because you know who to hold responsible. Right. You have the organogram there, and you know how to get across to them. And in the time that this particular Enugu Air, when the talks were coming up, I was like, okay, fine. So how's it going to do it? And then we learned that this particular jets belonged to an individual who could no longer carry out the activities. And he decided to say, okay, fine, I'm ready for me to let go of this. And Peter Amba took the initiative to get those the aircraft actually, with Enugu State people's money, to say, I want to invest in this. This is a long-term investment, if you ask me. Because if you check the operational aircraft that he began with, as a Embraer E170, E165 or thereabouts, these are birds that we know that a whole lot of persons actually have been how will I say it? Most persons actually do complain about the fact that we get to the airport, they are stranded, they cannot move around, they can't do this, they can't do that. There was a video sometime that trended about a private airline and a senator in Nigeria, how it happened. And with the upcoming of this, people were like, okay, finally, we have something that we can hold on to. We have someone that we can run to and say, okay, fine, this is a good one. And that reminds me of what Festus Keyamo said the particular day this was flagged off. He said, he told Peter, he said, I'm scared of you, even though you are in opposition. I'm scared of even though you're PDP, because you are the best governor as thus far in Nigeria, who we are beginning to see what he is doing. I believe that looking or sourcing out, someone said something on Twitter yesterday. The person said, I think I love this business whereby the governor of the state also is an oil and gas. So the Jet A1 will never be a problem for them to be able to run the Enugu Air. He cannot come up to say, we don't have enough Jet A1 because he's an oil and gas business before now, prior to this time. And then I say, you don't say that too, because before you know what is happening, they'll tell you it's only this person that have this. Peter Mbado's Pinnacle and all that, but not Jet A1, you get. But anyway, I wish Enugu people success in this particular. I love this initiative. If every state will come up to say they are getting the state-owned, I believe it's going to get to a point where we'll have a state-owned aircraft running international troops for Nigeria. Nigeria government cannot do it. We don't have Nigeria Air. We have other nations. We have Ethiopia, Kenya Airline. No Nigeria Airline. So imagine us coming and say we have Enugu Airline running maybe international trip for Nigerians. I guess that's a good one in the right direction. Away from that, tensions are rising between the United States and BRICS, and as U.S. President Donald Trump threatens a further economic retaliation against member nations and their allies, including Nigeria. His warning follows critical remarks from Brazil's President Lula da Silva and current BRICS chair over Washington's sweeping tariff hikes. In response, Trump pledged to slap an additional 10% tariff on BRICS nation and its partners, escalating a trade standoff that already saw Nigeria hit with a 14% reciprocity tariff back in April. President Bola Tinubu is currently in Brazil attending the BRICS summit, where he's advocating for a fairer global finance and healthcare system. But Nigeria's recent admission into the bloc in January has now placed it squarely in the crosshairs of U.S. scrutiny. Trump is reportedly reviewing plans to expand visa restrictions to 36 countries, including Nigeria, over what he views as growing anti-American alignment with the BRICS coalition. I saw this story first, and the first thing that came to my mind is, this man should rest. Trump should rest. That was the first time I said he should rest. What is wrong? Why? Okay, you want people not to be part or allies to the BRICS nation because you think that they are a threat to U.S. You think that they are, carrying out anti-American alignment and doing other things that, does not really resonate with you. You come up to say you want to work for America. And then you're trying to bring in restrictions. You're trying to say these are not, these people are not supposed to be here. These are not going to happen. There were permutation about building walls and all that, forgetting that America actually belongs to the Red Indies. And these Red Indies we're talking about, most of them actually are not even being seen within the, the corridors of power. Because of the fact that you, who happens to be Trump, the president of America, you're not even an indigen of America to start with. Yes, every person, 99% of the people who actually stay in the U.S. are once, they have their state of origin or their ancestral home belong to a different place entirely. We know what the slave trade did. We know how it took the world, to build that nation before there was independence, before we have, the whole thing that plays out in America. So when you wake up to put out all these things and they say you're working for the interest of America, the question is, who are the Americans you're working for? Because we need to face it the way it should be. You have the right to decide how you want things to be in your nation. Yes, I'm not disputing that. But you don't have the right to gag other sovereign nations on what you want them to do or how you want their own, interests to work, whether in your favor or against your favor. We are sovereign nations, for crying out loud. So if you're putting up another 10% tariff hike, believe me, nations like China will not also sit down and fold their hands. They are going to increase theirs too. And every other nation that you have this one or two relationship with, I'm talking about bilateral relations too, will also increase theirs. So we're looking at a way to balance the equation and make the world a better place for us to move. We should take out this superiority complex that some nations actually have over others. And that is what I want to say actually to this one.
Oh, well, interestingly, Donald Trump is consistently doing what he knows how to do best, and that is try to just keep America within that space of the power. I mean, he said it over time that he is the president of the world. But one interesting conversation that beats my heart is the fact that if Donald Trump is concerned about the fact that some nations are aligning together for potential economic growth for their people and their country, if he's having an issue with it, then I think he possibly would have more issues, because Africans at this point should start looking at the direction of whoever would help their economy grow even better. Because as it stands, the BRIC nation, they are practically doing everything within their powers to making sure that economically the alignment is becoming stronger and better, and of course doing business is going to really help them.
I think the way the
time.
BRICS nation will be able to do that is to come up with this particular idea of saying we don't need a particular nation's currency for us to run our trade and economy. Yes, because that's what is causing this whole thing. If you wake up to say, the BRICS nation woke up to say, we are not doing this again with US dollars. Let them create their own currency. Let's see who will be the leader of the world, or rather the president of the world. Because I don't like
that. That would be quite difficult, because as it
stands,
stands, I'm looking at it from the perspective of the currency also.
Yeah.
If you would say there should be one currency, then that would also not align well with some of those other countries as well.
What happens to every other nation's currency? Must everybody tilt to US dollars? Must we?
The thing with Donald Trump is protecting the economy of the US. That's what he's doing. Basically. And that's what any leader would do. The US dollars has been used as a predominant currency of exchange the world over. And that has, I think it's about 60%, the world over. So, and that has boosted the position of the dollar. So with BRICS, with the establishment of BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and the partners that Nigeria has been part of, there is a conversation around reducing the dependency on the dollar.
Simple.
Which is what Trump is against.
Yes.
And also getting some sort of unified currency. But it's difficult to get a unified currency because China's yuan is quite strong. Russia also has their own, and but now the conversation now is around pegging it on gold, using gold as an
exchange rate.
Yes, but then Russia has quite the deposit. I think about 2,500 tons.
Yeah,
quite large. China has about 2,000 plus tons as well. All of this basically is to whittle down the power of America, and they're doing it. All right, this has come to stay. Now, the tariff that Trump is slamming on countries, there was a 14% tariff the other time.
15 in April.
It was 15 in April. And now he wants to slam 10 on the partners of BRICS as well. Well, countries should start doing business. If you start doing business amongst yourself, if everybody is producing and exporting one thing or the other, it will be difficult for America to put its pangs on countries and compel them to do its bidding.
Right.
But going forward, talking about Nigerians who always, this of course will affect Nigerians because we do medical tourism, all of this done in dollars. In fact, some of our politicians are called dollar men when it comes to winning primaries and winning elections. They spread dollars around. Now, Nigerian students, always want to go to the United States. Nigerians want to japa. And, Nigerian students want to. Now, there's a news report I saw this morning that if you are a Nigerian and you want to study in the abroad, you want to study in America, the embassy, American government wants access to your social media. They want to check what you're doing on social media. So if your social media is on private, you will not be given visa. So you have to, before you apply, make your social media public. That way, when you apply, they can go to your social media, check out your activity right there, and determine whether or not they give you visa. Talking about education, we hear that ASU has instructed that strike commence today. ASU strike over non-payment of June salaries. So it's, with all these conversations, a lot is happening. Well, let's see if the strike actually will take effect. Well, the affiliates of ASU have been asked to go on strike. Well, let's see how this one pans out.
We definitely will be looking at that as we progress. Well, let's get to another conversation. Afrobeat musician Seun Kuti has accused President Bola Tinubu of using harsh economic policies not to reform the nation, but to shield the political elites from accountability. In a recent video broadcast, Kuti alleged that Tinubu's primary achievement so far is covering up systemic corruption, while the masses bear the brunt of worsening hardship. He also criticized FCT Minister Wike, claiming Wike's media chat revealed more concern for preserving the political status quo than addressing real issues. Kuti argued that Wike's comment signaled frustration with the new opposition coalition, which he said threatens the comfort and protection enjoyed by the ruling class under Bola Tinubu's leadership. Well, this is a conversation that is ongoing, and as it stands, I really, really hope that the likes of Seun Kuti is, there's something that is saying law. He will...
Goes to equity. Must come with clean hands.
No, he who alleges.
Okay, must prove. Oh, nice one.
Okay, so if Seun Kuti is saying this, he should be able to prove it because freedom of speech in Nigeria is...
well, because we have newspaper headlines to touch on, let's just the proof of this is that politicians that have been accused of one crime or the other. I mean, it's been said that if you come to the APC, your sins are forgiven.
Yeah.
So politicians that have been accused of one crime or the other, that should have their day in court to defend themselves, and if found guilty, made to face the wrath of the law, are in the APC, and it seems like when they are there, nothing happens to them. Yahya Bello is one politician, very recent young man who, a lot of allegations about him taking billions of naira is right there. He's hobnobbing.
He's even asking for his passport to be returned so he can travel.
So it's easy for Nigerians to conclude that the Tinubu administration is shielding corrupt politicians. And this statement, Seun Kuti cited statement made by Wike when he talked about Amechi's wife earning 4 billion monthly, and how the president should release the audits of the reports and all of that. Well, I'm not asking the president to listen and act according to Wike's statements, because that may not be very wise. But if there is an audit report that has shown that politicians are, involved in graft, then it should be made public. Nigerians should know. And these politicians ostracized from participating in politics. That's the only way to clean the system.
Ostracizement, to say congratulations. And who is going to look into the parts where Nigerians have been crying and talking about how contracts have been awarded to cronies and close allies and all that still in Nigeria? Remember what happened when we're talking about a particular man who's been given over the contract of bringing in tractors into Nigeria? Who is that person that is going to call politicians to order? Who is that person that is going to
Nigerians
review?
will call politicians to order.
Nigerians will call them to order.
Yes.
And how many of them have we... Because you know why this is paining me or hurting me? I'm taking it personal, is the fact that a particular, like you rightly pointed out, Yahya Bello, not a particular governor, because I'm not going to mince word on this particular one. We saw what played out till today. Till this present time, we're yet to know the outcome of that particular case, the embezzlement of people, of public funds. And not just that, we saw the dollar man to the Agbada thing that played out, and the man happens to be the national chairman of a particular political party in Nigeria. And someone said something about that, being him receiving, gifts from the Chinese persons that we saw also in the video that played out. What happened to the ways and means? Someone actually have not answered that particular money, which people are pointing to be the way that thing that made Nigeria to run into economic quarter today. The only thing we hand is that we've done something about that. But anyway, having said all that, it's time for us to take a quick peep on the cover page of the national dailies. Because if we keep on talking about Nigeria as a nation, you must have emotional issues. But now, I have the Vanguard newspaper, the Nation newspaper, the Punch, the Daily Trust, the Daily Sun, and a whole lot more. And I would like to start off from the Vanguard newspaper. And the window headlines reads, Customs engages international air operators on money laundering. No rift between Buhari, Tinubu, that's coming from Garabashew. And the ship tussle, police launch investigation as supporters of Sanusi Bayaro clash in Kano. Tinubu, Makinde Sultan, others mourn as Olubadan Oba Olakunlehi dies at 90. The Vanguard newspaper is what we're looking at this time. And the banner headline reads that 2027 presidency plotting to destabilize us. ADC alleges. Claims top government officials summoned ex-party chairman to secret meeting. Aggrieved ADC members drag Mark Aragbeshola orders to court. Power blocks may crash ADC if Nwosu won. If, there's an ellipsis then, Nwosu wants. Ex-SGF Babacha Lawal dumps APC. Ex-Katsina PDP chair joins ADC. PDP BOT member Waziri joins ADC. The Christ Party's loss of credibility. And there we have a major pictorial there as a president at the BRICS summit in Brazil. And we have other headlines to be forest guards can't fight AK-47 welding terrorists with Dane guns. That's coming from Governor Hyson Talia. Flood destroys 500 houses in Kogi community. Nigeria's export drive in danger as Trump plans 10% extra tariff against BRICS. And Keyamo inaugurates Enugu Air, explains why FG concessioned Akanu Ibiam Airport. NDDC at 25, Tinubu has funded commission more than previous government, Obuku stated. And those are the headlines on the cover page of the Vanguard newspaper this morning.
Right, I'm trying to get it.
All right, so The Guardian, let's go to The Guardian newspaper now. The Guardian newspaper has these headlines. Fiscal inefficiencies erode Naira's prospects despite weakening dollar. And the window headlines, flood destroys 500 houses in Kogi community. Keyamo inaugurates Enugu Air as about vows improved air travel. NDDC commits to improved mandate delivery. We also have performance of Naira and other selected currencies against dollar since January. There's a breakdown of it. If you want to, take a look at that, you could just have a glance and understand how that has worked out. Some of the headlines here: opposition unity at risk as ADC leadership faces legal hurdle. Collapse warnings. Palace guards injured. Police vehicle vandalized as hoodlums attack Sanusi's palace. Tinubu insists fuel subsidy unsustainable, benefits only rich citizens. Court jailed 9 Chinese nationals over Ponzi terrorism scheme in Lagos. And the bottom strip, there we have BRICS Plus Summit between Nigeria's interest and Global South agenda. Those are the headlines on the cover page of the Guardian newspaper.
All right, from there on, let's move straight to the front page of the Daily Independent, where the banner headline here reads, fuel subsidy cuts savings are being reinvested. This is according to the President Bola Tinubu. And of course, the subwriter of that one reads, assures of commitment of transparency, fiscal prudence, as lawmakers demand stronger oversight, accountability. Above the nameplate there, let's take other headlines there. And how Nigeria can unleash its economic potential by IMF. No plans to explore nuclear weapon technology. The federal government is saying that one. And then the major pictorial there of the Enugu Air with, of course, Minister of Aviation Festus Keyamo, but other headlines by the side. Keyamo inaugurates Enugu Air, says Mba among the best. The subwriter there is triumph of vision, beginning of aviation hub. According to Governor Mba, troops foil planned attack on Plateau community, arrest bandits. Subwriter, Air Force strikes, hits terrorist logistics base, kills scores. Tinubu's tax reforms to transform Nigerian economic space. That's according to IMPI. Ladoja to make history as ex-Oyo governor to ascend Olubadan throne. And the subwriter, Tinubu Makinde mourn Olubadan. ADC accuses Tinubu allies of plots to destabilize coalition. The subwriter says Tinubu wouldn't be president if Jonathan crushed opposition. And at the bottom strip there reads, Jonathan Boni lead West African elders pre-election mission to Cote d'Ivoire. Well, these are the headlines right there at the front page of the Daily Independent. And of course, this is where we have to draw anchor on looking at the front page of the newspaper. We definitely would be analyzing all of this in a couple of hours from now. But let's look at what we will be talking about this morning. There is a particular survey that reviews 79% to 83% of Nigerians lacking trust in Tinubu-led executive, National Assembly, and the judiciary. Let's look at this and more when we return after this break. Do stay with us.
Good morning. It's the start of a beautiful day. Well, start your day right with a healthy dose of news, fun, and inspiration. Join us on VOP this morning for the latest news, trending topics, and uplifting stories to set your day on the right vibe. From news and current events to lifestyle and entertainment, you are covered.
VOP This Morning, 8 a.m., Monday through Friday. Are you ready for the extraordinary? Something big is happening on your screen. Introducing VOP TV, now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We bring in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOP TV on SLTV channel 264. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
In a world where truth is the ultimate power and opinions scream the loudest, it's time to wade through the noise.
Hunger no get tribe! Hunger no get religion!
You are the mighty Redeemer. We've come to worship at your feet, oh Lord. This is Ayotunde Adejumo, chilling with you on the Voice of the People TV. Don't touch that remote. You are where God wants you to be, listening to the Voice of the People TV.
The Bible says we should give thanks in all circumstances, and all circumstances include the good times and the bad, the high times and the low, the times when everything look as if they are going well, and those times when Enugu, the ground is dry like the sand in the desert. Those times when you feel like giving up, you should give thanks still. My name is Jeff Melu, and I'm a gospel poet, and you should keep watching VOP TV. Don't touch that dial.
Yes, sir. Kábíyèsí Olúọ̀run, we were born to give you twale, to give you worship. People of God, you are watching Voice of the People TV, and my name is Flo Rocker. I encourage you to listen to things of the gospel. You know, we live in a very perilous times where there are some things you watch on television, you will lose faith, you will lose God. Keep your eyes on Voice of the People TV and remain blessed. Flo Rocker says so. Kuzoshi.
We encourage you to click on the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are Voice of the People TV. Also follow us on all our social media platforms. We are at VOP TV Live. Visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. Also watch us live on SLTV channel 264. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television.
Thank you so much for staying with us. It's still VOP this morning. A new nationwide survey by the Africa Polling Institute has revealed a deep crisis of trust in Nigeria's key institutions, with over 79% of citizens expressing little or no confidence in the executive, legislative, and even the judicial arm of government. The findings released during a national dialogue in Abuja show that trust in President Tinubu's administration, the National Assembly, and the judiciary has dropped to one of the lowest levels recorded in recent years. The report also assessed Nigeria's social cohesion index at 46.8%, falling below the 50% benchmark, indicating weak national unity. While distrust in leadership continues to grow, the survey suggests that citizens are increasingly united in shared economic hardship, citing rising costs of transportation, goods, and services under the current administration as a major source of concern. The survey backed by the Ford Foundation was carried out between January and February 2025 and included over 5,400 face-to-face interviews across all states and senatorial districts. Respondents aged 15 and above participated in 5 major Nigerian languages, reflecting a broad national consensus on the pressing need for improved governance and social sustainability and stability. We have with us in the studio Prince Francis Chilaka, who's a political and public affairs analyst, and we also have Dr. Jude Emecheta, economic and political analyst. He'll be joining us virtually from our Oka studios. And we have with us in the studio Mazi, his name is Mazi Amobi. Iheburu. Okay, we have Mazi Iheburu also with us in the studio. He's a head in capacity of public affairs analyst. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good to have you join today's conversation, Mazi. All right, let me start off with you, Prince Francis Chilaka. You know, what do you have to say about the fact that we got a survey? According to what they pointed out here, they said this particular survey was conducted between January and February this year, 2025. And then 78 to 79% of Nigerians and above actually don't even have trust in not just the president at this point in time, the National Assembly, and even the judiciary. If that actually happens to be the fate of Nigerians, where do you think we're heading, if I'm to ask? Because we're Nigerian, and not just that, too, an elite also in that particular regard.
Well, the issue of trust deficit didn't just spring out overnight. It's been there right from the 29th of May 2023, when your president announced subsidy is gone. That was where it all started. But let me say this. We don't need a survey to tell us the reality on ground. You do not need a survey to tell you that Nigerians are not happy. You do not need a survey to tell you that we don't seem to have proper democratic government in place. You don't need a survey to tell you that the aspirations and desires of Nigerians are not being met. So anybody who says he needs to conduct a survey, he needs to give us the result of the survey for us to know that this government has lost track and that the people have abandoned this government. Well, it means that we're not serious.
When you say we are not serious, have the likes of Daniel Bwala, you know, even Yesom, who happens to be the minister of FCT, come up to say that if Nigeria has come up with this notion that the president is not doing anything, that the policies of the administration is not yielding any fruits, then that shows maybe Nigerians are kind of dumb, or maybe deaf, or maybe they are not really, they are blind to.
Unfortunately, you have people in government who think that Nigerians are stupid.
But they are Nigerians too.
No, you have people, I said people in government who think that Nigerians are stupid. When Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was campaigning, when he was being packaged, that's the better language to use. We're told, oh, this is the man who fought for democracy. We're told that this is the man who has what it takes, the magic wand, to turn Nigeria into El Dorado. We're told that, oh, Bola Tinubu's government is going to be one of the best we can ever think of. But what are we going through today as a people in this country? We have 5 of us seated here. How many of us can beat our chest and say, we're happy with this government? How many of us? You need to go out on the street and find out yourself. You don't need a survey. I keep telling people, if you want to know how bad things are in this country today, take a drive. Go to Lasut. It's just across here. By the time you're driving, you'll see the number of people queuing outside with their prescriptions. Pleading, I'm coming. Pleading and asking people, please, can you help me? They're not even asking you for money. They're asking you to, please, can you help them to buy these drugs for them? You walk into a supermarket as you're coming out, you see people lined up asking you, can you buy us a loaf of bread?
All right. Let's for the benefit of our viewers, let's try and break this down. Mazi, I would like to start with you now. Talking about trust deficit, where can we say this started from? Should we peg this to the Tinubu administration or government in Nigeria even before his? Where can we peg this trust deficit, and what impact does this have on a global perception?
Thank you very much. I would like to zero in on Tinubu's administration. I don't want to look back because though in the past we had this trust deficit, but when you want to look at it from whatever point of view, you find out that it is more in Tinubu's administration than ever. I do not know. I do not know. In all facets of our economy, the ecosystem, in every aspect of life, there is trust deficit. Can you talk about the National Assembly now? Or you are talking about the judiciary, or even the executive? Before we started this program, we were talking about the National Assembly, whether Natasha is resuming or not resuming and all that. If National Assembly, we are supposed to be the bastion of democracy, will be talking about fulfilling all righteousness conditionalities before Natasha resumes, that is a trust deficit. It means the institutions are not working. Some people are powerful than the institutions. In a normal democracy, institutions should be stronger, should be more powerful.
I like the fact that you mentioned institutions at this point. So I'm still going to stay with you, Mazi. Looking at the fact that the institutions, like you said, are not strong enough, are we going to blame that to the presidency? Or should we blame it on a constitution that almost everybody is saying is faulty? We're talking about constitutional reforms now, and of course the National Assembly did say a couple of days ago that there would be a conversation starting from, I think, next month or something, towards the constitutional reviewing and reform. Should we blame it to the Constitution, or should we blame it to the political elites for not having the willpower to doing what is right, particularly on the part of not having a strong institution that can hold these people accountable?
Personally, I do not trust the National Assembly to tinker with the constitutional review. I do not trust. That is where the trust deficit comes in. For all you care to know, the whole issue about sorry, let me come in. The whole issue about coalition trying to ensure that they have a viable opposition and all that will come to naught if the electoral system is not tinkered with. Is the National Assembly able? Do they have what it takes to tinker with the Constitution? My answer is no.
Can I ask you this personal question? Are you proud of being a Nigerian with the way things are going or the way things are happening around us?
It's open to qualifications.
So,
to a large, I'm a Nigerian.
So
I love being a
Nigerian.
Yes, I love being a Nigerian. But when you now want to talk about governance,
That's where the problem
We have to put in everything also when
that's
we're
where the
talking about
problem is.
how
No, you have to really isolate to be able to,
Sorry, there's something came to mind while we were speaking, and I remember something my mom used to say. I may not say it as well as she used to. You know, she would always say, "Putayegbo." I don't know if you understand. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Putayegbo, bring it. You know.
Yeah.
Is it that Nigerians are, because of the economic hardship, are Nigerians being a little too hard on this administration, saying that can we talk trust? Can we talk about trust when the road that politicians take to get into office is layered with corruption? And the people encourage it. Some politicians have come in time past to say, look, I'm not going to bribe you for you to vote for me. And we saw people say, look, we want food. So if you're not giving us, we won't look your way, even though some people voted for that politician. But we saw what happened in Ogun State, where citizens came out to complain that money had not been given to them, and they were promised monies to cast their votes. Do Nigerians have the moral right to accuse its government of not being trustworthy when Nigerians themselves seem not to have exhibited traits that would make them attract trustworthy people into office?
I think that the whole issue of governance rests with the people. I agree completely. But the economic soundness of the average Nigerian is called to question. You see, we know that the economy is the substructure of any society. Once things are not going up, going well with the substructure, the superstructure will be affected. Many people have touted the idea that the Nigerian society is docile. That most of the things that are happening now cannot happen in Senai clients. People have said so. I do not believe so to a large extent, because there are still Nigerians, credible Nigerians, who are looking forward to a better Nigeria. So what we are saying in effect is that programs like this is a better forum to tell Nigerians that it is not immediate. You have to work assiduously hard to ensure that we produce a government that we can call a Nigerian government. And how do we do this? My brother, let's look at the Electoral Act. If you can transmit election results right from the polling booths, you have solved 50% of Nigerian problems. These politicians will know that it is not business as usual, and they will come to you, tell you what they can do, what is feasible. But now they can just, whether you like it or not, they're already there. Some of them are even talking about beyond 2027. How dare you in a country like this? It's not done. So let's look at the Constitution, the electoral system, Electoral Act, particularly as it affects election results. Right. If politicians know that it is not business as usual, that the election result counts, I tell you something. In 2023, I took 2 days to procure my PVC because I knew what I wanted to do. You understand? Now, if you sample the opinion of Nigerians vis-a-vis elections, you find out that it has come down. The enthusiasm to go for polls has come down. So how do we rekindle it? Unless we have a viable, transparent, accountable electoral system.
All right. Dr. Jude Michita, get to join the conversation. Good morning, Dr. Jude, if you can hear me.
I can hear you very well. Good morning.
All right, it's good to have you join today's conversation. Now, we're looking at trust deficit in Nigeria, and not just that, too, the fact that some Nigerians, I think like 27% or thereabouts have come up to say, 47% have come up to say, we don't have any, we are not proud of being Nigerians. We don't want anything to do with this nation. 27 are saying we would rather align with our ethnic city than to be in this nation. Help us actually give us your view on this particular discussion. And what do you think Nigeria should do different as a great nation for us to be able to, be the giant of Africa that we were called before now?
What I would say is very simple. Nigerians are complaining. Governance, yes. Nigerians, yes, yes. the real problem are Nigerians, not governance really. I can tell you. Because what do we get during the elections? I had somebody say, go and get a PVC, go and get a PVC. Get a PVC, on the election day, you sit down in the polling units, they give you money, you collect money, and nobody votes, nobody, the people who are voting are not voting their conscience. They're not even voting, they are voting for money. They're voting for rice, they're voting for rapper, they're voting for all sorts. So this election is rigged by the people themselves, not governance. So originally we have been impoverished. So what is happening right now is Nigerians are not happy because they are not. The economy is bad. The economy is bad. Yes, everybody knows that. Yeah, I mean, you fuel your house, you fuel your car. From go to the market, things are so high, so nobody is happy. But the same people who are not happy are the ones who will go to the pools, collect rice, collect money, and vote for the same criminals. So who is to blame? So governors have impoverished people very, very well. In fact, it is an intentional thing. Make people poor so that they can always control them when they want to vote.
Okay. Now, the big question still remains is who is to be blamed for this? The politicians, of course. It's easy to blame the politicians. Prince Francis, talking about Nigerians holding their leaders accountable, what should Nigerians do differently that we haven't been doing before now? Because we know that protests haven't worked.
When you talk about accountability, you're talking about holding the Nigerian government officials accountable. It starts from the individual. So let me tell you this. In the last few days, I've been trying to understand the man called Peter Obi. I've been trying to understand his mindset in terms of leadership. And I'm putting it side by side the other class of leaders we've had. Your president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in 2007,
President of Nigeria,
signed a bill in Lagos State when he was a governor. He was just about leaving office. He signed a bill that gave so much to former governors. A house in Lagos, a house in Abuja, medical attention abroad for 100 million, cars to be replaced every 3 years, and all of that. And immediately after that, other states, Akwa Ibom, Kogi, Sokoto, it became like a wildfire. Meanwhile, those who work in the Nigerian civil service, 35 years, they stand in the queue. Some of them die in the process of trying to get maybe 10,000, 20,000. Now, we should be asking accountability. How much of this has people be benefited from Anambra State? So that is where the accountability starts. It starts from the individuals who are ruling us.
All right, so if Peter Obi, assuming, all right, Peter Obi, assumes office and he's one pious individual, but then he can't do it alone. He's surrounded by some other individuals who want to achieve, who want to grab something. How do you think that will work?
When your president on the 29th of May 2023 said subsidy is gone, who did he seek advice from? When a president wakes up from sleep to sign executive bills, who does he seek advice from?
But we know how that went.
No. See, we must be sincere with ourselves. For this country to move forward, for this country to move forward, we must understand the enormous power a president has.
So, now, Prince Francis, do you believe that if his subsidy, is truly gone? Because we could recall that just last 2 months or 3 months ago, we know that 7.7 trillion naira is what Nigerian government used to pay to NNPCL as what was accumulated from June to September 2024, even when the pronouncement of his subsidy is gone was made.
I mean,
in May.
What President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has simply done is to increase the largesse for the governors, and it's not about the Nigerian people. We know that subsidies, if there is no subsidy, why are you importing fuel?
So if subsidy is gone, then where then is the money that, you know, the FAC allocation increment that governors of the states are enjoying at this point? And where then is the money coming from?
That is why you should ask Bola Tinubu now. Because when he announced that subsidy is gone, don't forget, he told Nigerians that we're going to have a sovereign account where the funds will be kept. And that from that funds, we're going to be looking at development. What have we seen this government do? This is 2 years plus.
Now,
and we're moving all in circles.
I'm going to stay with you. I'm going to stay with you, Prince. The conversation surrounding institutions not being strong enough. How do we navigate that? Plus, electoral reforms that a lot of persons have been clamoring for, and we're going into 2027. Trust deficits, like you've seen from this survey, is terrible. How do we manage to navigate all of this going into an election that is as critical as the future of Nigeria?
The institutions will not work so long as we're living in a country that corruption has taken, you know, a frontliner. The National Assembly that is supposed to checkmate, what are they doing? You see people decamping from the party that gives them power into another party, and everybody's smiling. Nobody sees anything wrong with it. In the day, people are Republicans. In the night, they're Democrats. And we're all happy about it. I have said, and I'll keep saying it, that 1999 obnoxious document called Nigerian Constitution needs to go for this country to move forward.
Francis, if you keep on talking about this party, okay, let me bring it to you now, Mazi Amobi. If people keep on talking about the Constitution to be the problem, we've had this Constitution for some time. 1999, this Constitution actually was there. Even when some people have come up to say it was more like a decree that was handed over. Then why is it that some Nigerians at this point in time is saying, let us go back to 1999 where we began all this. Take us back to, you know, the PDP-led administration. Let us bring back Erupts or, you know, or President Bola Ahmed, President Olusegun Obasanjo. Why is it that it is prominent at this point in time? I'm talking about the loopholes or the lopsidedness in that Constitution.
You know, Constitution is the grand norm. That is the Bible. Sorry, that is the Bible of the nation. So anything that we do must be at tandem with the Constitution. Agreed. Again, leadership is a greater issue in this country. If you get the right leadership, and then 50% of the problem is solved because the leader gives direction. If you look at the body language of your leader, and it's not, you know, in consonance.
The Constitution really is not the problem. No, it's the leadership that is the problem.
The Constitution has its own deficits. I agree.
Okay.
But as presently constituted, what we need is a viable, accountable, transparent leadership.
But there's a conversation surrounding the fact that we are an evidence of the people at the top. So in other words, the people that we have underneath are more like the people at the top. So if we look at these conversations that has to do with the people at the lower cadre as against the people at the upper cadre, we want to use an example like the Senate, the members of the Labour Party that got into the Senate from the Labour Party. They also collected the car gift. So traditionally, if we're going to say this is about the people at the top, how about the people underneath?
I agree with you. You see, we have individual differences. There is no clear-cut ideological lines of political parties. Can you agree with me on that? There's no ideology per se. And the parties are used, they are special purpose vehicles for achieving electoral victory. If you have like independent candidacy, you see some people will come and run on their personal integrity.
Okay.
And you see that they will win. But as presently constituted, there is no independent candidacy. The parties becomes its vehicle through which you can go through the party. And you know how our parties are structured. Before you can even, you know, get nomination, you know what it means. Right. So I do not blame those people per se. I still believe that once you have, you know, look at the Constitution very well, look at the electoral system and all that, plug all those loopholes, we are there.
All right, let's quickly take Dr. Jude's reaction to one more question before we wrap this conversation up. Dr. Jude Emetita, I asked a question earlier, but it wasn't answered in the studio. I asked for the perception of the world's perception. if Nigerians don't trust their leaders, should we expect the world to trust our leaders? But it seems there is a level of trust because our leaders are borrowing and they get a lot of the funds that they ask for. How does that impact on the trust, the deficit in trust? And of course, a lot of this is on social media. How does it impact on perception from outside Nigeria and, outside Africa as well? And what can be done differently for Nigerians to, build back, for the government to build the trust of Nigerians in itself? Very quickly, please.
I think it's a very difficult task right now because to get a trust of the people back on our leaders will be a very, very difficult task because people have been so impoverished so much that before you can begin to get back the trust of the people, there must be a kind of social reassurance, kind of social insurance for people. People will be sure they have homes, they can go to school, they can have free healthcare. They begin to have trust on our leaders, so, and it can spread out of this country. Before they can have any trust right now, it'll be quite difficult because they tell us about free education, nobody gets any free education. They talk about free health, nobody gets free health. So if people don't have social security, it'll be difficult for you to begin to bring any trust right now. It's quite a difficult task.
Thoughts in all of this, because I was going to say it's not really difficult. When you said it's difficult, in my head I'm like, no, it's not. If the courts prosecute those that have been accused and they are made to face the wrath of the law, there will be some level of trust. But quickly, what is the role of the courts in all of this? Because does it seem like the courts are handicapped?
I think most of the time we become very emotional about these courts. What facts do we have before the courts? What facts do we have before the courts? Because a lot of times we want a judgment given against something that we think was wrong or right. But we don't look at the ingredients of those matters that are before the court. Because most courts cannot rule without those ingredients, those facts that are available to them. So I also think that the courts themselves, we agree in every facet of the society. Some people are corrupt. We agree, but you cannot put the whole court, the whole Nigerian judiciary, in the perception of being corrupt. No, one or two can be corrupt, but it does not mean that the whole court is corrupt. So there are some judgments that we think that we should get. I can give you an example. People will be lost in the courts. And people are saying that the courts were corrupt. But if you go down and look at why he lost in that court, you find out that of all the polling units that he has, there are no agents in the polling unit go to the court to testify for him. So why would the court rule in his favor? So there are things we should look at and know whether the courts, whether they were going to rule on sentiments, whether they were going to rule on emotional basis. We should look at those ingredients, those facts before the court.
All right, then. Thank you.
The courts, I agree. Some are corrupt, some are not corrupt.
All right, so it's what you bring before the courts. That's what they will deliberate on. All right, thank you very much, Dr. Jude Emecheta. We must say a very big thank you to Prince Francis Chilaka as he will be leaving us as we get into the next conversation. Prince Francis, thank you very much for joining the conversation. Now we would appreciate Mazi Amobi Heburu and Dr. Jude Emecheta to stay with us as we get into another conversation. Wike says Nigeria was practically dead before Tinubu took over. Let's x-ray this when we come back. Join us again.
Ever wonder what inspires your favorite gospel artists? Explore and discover the rich heritage of continental gospel music and how this transformative journey has evolved and shaped cultures around the world as we dig deep into archival treasures. Feel the energy in our praise jam, Gospel Fusion, on Voice of the People television. Tune in this Sunday, 3 to 4 p.m. and be part of a transformative experience that uplifts and inspires. Join us as we explore the transformative power of gospel music and its ability to uplift spirits and unite hearts. Tune in this Sunday, 3 to 4 p.m. on Voice of the People television. Gospel Fusion. Let's fuse our hearts in praise and joy.
We're glad to have you back. It is still VOP this morning. Let's get to another conversation quickly. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, says Nigeria was practically dead before President Bola Tinubu took over office. And of course, speaking during a Thanksgiving service at St. James Anglican Church in Asokoro, Abuja, Wike acknowledged the ongoing challenges, but commended the president for taking bold decisions aimed at reviving the nation. He emphasized that national recovery requires time and tough choices, not instant fixes, and warned against unrealistic expectation of immediate transformation. Wike also advised Christian leaders and followers to be more discerning in their political choices ahead of 2027 election. Reflecting on the 2023 polls, he cautioned against decisions driven by emotion and sentiment, noting that such paths nearly led to what he described as a national misstep. He challenged critics of the current administration to examine the past records of those now opposing Tinubu, questioning their silence during years of missed opportunities. Highlighting his own records as former Rivers State Governor and current FCT Minister, Wike defended the administration's economic reforms and cracked down on corruption, insisting that the current government inherited deep-rooted problems. It is now working to fixing it. Well, joining us in the studio to make sense of these stories and more is Barrister Darlington Agumo, who is Voice of the People TV's in-house political affairs analyst and, of course, a legal practitioner. Also joining us from our Orca studio is Dr. Jude Emecheta, an economic and political analyst. And joining us virtually as well is Professor Ridwan Adeyemi. Clearly, he is the Associate Professor of Mass Communications based in Abuja. Well, gentlemen, yes, I also recall we have Mazi still joining us in the studio. Good morning to you, gentlemen. All right, I'm going to start from the studio. Barrister, interestingly, Wike is talking and, of course, defending this administration. I'm going to ask for your broad overview of what he said and all he said. But then again, streamlining it to the fact that he's defending this administration.
Wike is not defending the administration. He's just lying.
How so?
That's how to put it. Which dead economy did the Tinubu inherit? And whom did he inherit it from? It is APC all along. Why can't he call a spade a spade? Is it not the same APC that Wike told us that they are cancer? How can he leave malaria and enter cancer? Can you just imagine human beings, for God's sake? Eh? Every time they want to defend the inanities, they will tell you, we inherited a bad economy. Did they expose to us what they inherited? Please. Did they say, look, oh, this is how much we got from Buhari, this is how much was left? They didn't. Even at that, from day one, Tinubu started making money when he told us that fuel subsidy is gone. And so he was raking in all the money that was supposed to be used to pay subsidy.
But Barrister, looking at these subsidy conversations, there are conversations surrounding the fact that it takes time for that kind of reform to yield its fruit. Should we believe these particular statements, or?
I don't tell you that the man is lying, because the government they inherited is the same APC. Let nobody be deceived. It is APC, for God's sake. I don't want when people are dodging their responsibility. Tinubu was there when Buhari was in office. Did he ever come out and tell us that this man is not what we agreed though? He told you and I that he will continue where Buhari stopped. Please, do you continue from a bad leadership? Why is nobody interrogating that particular statement made by Tinubu? And true to what he said, he has continued from where Buhari and didn't make it worse. So what about the economy did he inherit? Did Tinubu inherit the exchange rate at 1,600 naira? Please, Nigeria should tell me. The bag of rice we are buying at 35,000 naira under Buhari, was it where we are today?
But President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, when he came on, when he came aboard, he said that Nigerians are living in denial. That Nigerians were faking it. That it's high time for us to live the life the way it should be by facing the reality the way it should be. He even pointed to his friend who, had to drop all his luxurious cars because he could no longer maintain it to get into a smaller one. And now, when you check all this now was saying, it did not just start with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration. Buhari also talked about free subsidy removal. And not just that, so we learned that he stopped paying the subsidy up until June. So are we now going to blame everything on Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration?
Fina, the devil's advocate you want to play this money, it will not fly. Because under PDP for 16 years, they were paying subsidy.
Yes, people were hungry. Nigerians were clamoring for change. Nigerians came out to vote in 2015 for a change. They did.
APC used propaganda to deceive Nigerians. Did they not tell you that there was nothing like subsidy in our economy? Was it not APC that went to Ojota and protested that Jonathan should not remove fuel subsidy, and Nigerians bought it? They told them that PDP is a lie, there was no subsidy. That when they enter government, the exchange rate will be 1 naira to $1. In fact, before you will be buying it at 15 naira per liter. They told you all this is now. So which other defense does anybody want to make? It cannot help them now.
All right.
All the lies has not been rubbished because of what they are doing in office. PDP was paying subsidy and we are living a life. How come when they remove it, everything went bonkers?
Okay, now Ms. Maziamobi, let's get your opinion on this particular one. Also, as you react to the fact that, why is it that it's now that APC chieftains, if I'm to use that word, are talking or becoming vocal, or political elites now are becoming vocal about what this present administration inherited from previous one? It was Oshomole yesterday, I think last week or thereabouts, that said that the economic woes we're suffering come from the ways and means that the former president also, abused or misused when he was there.
Like Barrister said, they cannot divorce themselves from the Buhari's administration. It's a continuum, as it were. So they cannot divorce themselves. This, gara-gara, trying to hoodwink us into believing that there is a clear-cut distinction between Tinubu and Buhari cannot fly. Having said that, the one that pissed me off more, because we are talking about Wike, is the platform Wike used to begin to initiate this idea. I agree you cannot divorce religion from politics to a large extent. I agree to that. But, how can a minister go to a church and begin to pontificate? And, there's not, I can't fathom, I cannot understand it. And he was picking people one after the other and tearing them into pieces. And the vicar or whoever was, they were enjoying it, and as it were. That is preposterous, as far as I'm concerned. I do not think it is the right thing to do. However, Wike has the right to defend the administration he's working for. But whether the Nigerian people buy into Wike's antics is totally a different ballgame. I think in the final analysis, Wike is demarketing this administration so much. I think so. He's demarketing the Tinubu administration. Because the way he's all over the place, you know, talking to people, abusing people anyhow, even telling Nigerians what they ought not to hear and all that, bragging, he was writing messages, he was doing this, he was doing that, and all that. That should not be the case.
But the president's administration actually were applauding him. The president also applauded him when he went to...
This is politics.
You know,
at the evening of the day, you see what will happen.
No,
we'll all be here.
If you say he is demarcating them.
Yes, he's demarcating them.
The president made it open. He told him, he said, don't listen to this, you know, naysayers. Don't listen to these people. Just continue what you're doing. So if you think he's demarcating them, why then is it that
this is Nigeria? We'll be here.
Go ahead.
You think Nigerians are not, aware of what is going on? We are sensitive to what the economy is all about. And people cannot come to Nigerians' our faces, and begin to throw dust on us.
Oh, well. All right then.
It's
Sorry.
not done.
Okay. All right then. Let's take this conversation. Okay. So let's go to Oka now. I was gonna take this on to Abuja, but we hear that our guest in the Abuja station is not ready for us yet. So let's go to Oka, where Dr. Jude Emecheta is. Dr. Jude. Now, we've heard this conversation around the president inheriting a bad economy. It's not just Wike that has said this. Governor Chukwuma Soludo also attributed, he said that, yes, this government, talking about the center now, inherited a bad economy when he talked about the 22 trillion naira that was printed, 20 trillion naira currency printed. And if you do recall the cash crunch and, things that happened before the elections, and this administration came in with liberalization and, all of that. Is it right to say that this administration worked in tandem with the previous administration, knowing that the excessive minting of currencies affected Nigeria's economy, which this administration tried to correct?
Well, I really want to disagree completely that the administration of Tinubu can be tagged with the administration of Buhari. It's a completely different leadership, Okay. We watched Buhari bring us to where we were, or where we are right now, for 8 good years. Buhari ran this country down. I also listened to Professor Chukwuma Soludo, who said we were already at the tip of the hill to roll down and finish before Tinubu came. Tinubu came, and of course, if you have cancer, you are going to go through chemotherapy, you are going to go through surgery, and it's painful. It's not going to be sweet. So, Tinubu has a completely different idea about what governance should be.
Is it right then? Is it right then to conclude that the Buhari administration ran the country aground, and then the Tinubu administration is trying to revive it, but probably not doing it? The measures put in place are not working. Would that be a right thing to say?
No, you cannot say it is not working. Yeah, I agree that Buhari ran us aground.
No, I'm not asking you to agree. I'm asking if you think that, if that's what you think, if that's what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that Buhari ran us aground, that Tinubu have put in place measures. Because I've listened to economic gurus like my governor, Professor Chukwuma Soludo. I've listened to them. They have given reasons why what Tinubu is doing is the only way to turn this country economy
but
around.
Some Nigerians, sorry, I'm staying with you on this one. Some Nigerians have also said that, look, as at 2021, 2022, we could still buy food. Rice was still, affordable. Bags of rice was still affordable within the 40,000 naira range. But all of a sudden, it went up to over 100,000. Now it's hovering around 85 to 95,000 naira. Things are pretty much a lot more expensive now than they were. Even though you are, saying that the Buhari administration ran the country around.
We were living a fake life. We were living a fake life at that point, at that point, that was why they said the ways and means. Buhari overborrowed, overprinted, trying to make people feel good. And he was hurting the economy. Because if we continued on that route, maybe by now, the economy would have crashed.
Dr. Jude, how aground is Nigeria economy to the point that the president could be able to get 150 billion naira presidential jet? He was also able to buy the yacht. He also bought Escalades and also was able to buy, SUVs for the National Assembly. You know how many of them have in that particular red chamber? And the president could be able to afford that. How poor or how impoverished is the nation Nigeria to this particular point?
I think we are looking at President Tinubu buying a jet is for the safety of this nation. We cannot fly our president in a dilapidated aircraft or a maintained aircraft that you are not sure can get to the destination where it is going to. So it is better you buy a new aircraft. The aircraft that Buhari was using has stayed almost 25 years flying, and they needed a new aircraft. I don't seriously see anything wrong with buying a new aircraft. 150 billion to buy an aircraft, really, is not $150 billion. 150 billion naira is really not something to cry over. The SUVs that were bought for National Assembly members, some of these people that have these vehicles, go and see the terrain that they go through in their places. They don't need a Toyota Corolla. Okay. They don't need a small vehicle to run in those terrains. They need a vehicle that can take them home and bring them
constituents.
All right, to their constituents, yes. Thank you so very much, Dr. Ju, for your thoughts there. Yeah. I want to come to you, Mazi. Okay. I saw the body language of both you and Barrister inside the studio, and I was kind of wondering, okay, seemed like you have a different opinion, but let's look at it from the perspective of governance, the cost of governance, and of course, the reality of Nigerians out there in the streets. Help us juxtapose this, and of course, give your thoughts as well.
If you may react to what you wanted to say earlier.
What I want to say, or wanted to say, was that I am a head of a family. There is no food in my house, no beverage. My children cannot go to school. I have not paid for their transportation and all that. And I will go out doing something else.
Drinking in beer parlor.
Partying and all that. How do you explain that? So what we are saying here is that the priorities are wrong. If you say Nigerians don't have money, or Nigeria as a country does not have money, we should see it in your body language, for crying out loud. That's what we're saying. You cannot tell us that, we should, let me use the phrase, tighten up our belts and all that, and you are doing something else. That cannot fly. And that is why we are saying that if government, if leadership owns up that things are really wrong, and people perceive them as such from what they are doing, their disposition generally, people will buy in. No one is saying that it's going to be an Eldorado, transiting from one economic policy to the other. There must be hiccups. But how do we perceive our leaders? And that is why we have this trust deficit. That is why we have this resentment about our leaders. They are not doing what they are preaching. And that is that. Any other person can hold their views, but this is part of the problem of this country. It's the problem of this country. Look at transportation generally. Look at food inflation. Look at all the indices, all the variables, the economic variables that points to negativity of this, and if care is not taken, by December, it will be worse. The trajectory we are going, the way we are going, by December it will be worse. Now they were, beating their chests to say that our price of rice is coming down. It has started going up again. Yeah. So how do you explain that? Okay. A bag of rice is about 80, 81, 82,000 naira now. Tomatoes you don't see in the market. 1,000 naira pepper you cannot use to cook one, whatever, indomie or something, noodles. So what are we talking about? The prices have started going up again. So what it tells me is that the economy is reacting. There is no clear-cut policy aimed at hedging the inflation. That is what it
How
tells
do
me.
you assess the, I think David's question has not exactly been answered. So.
Yes, particularly the fact of governance, cost of governance, and the reality of Nigeria.
Yeah, the reality is there. Is there. It's there for everyone to see. That's what we're saying. If you do a voice post of Nigerians now, you see leave the elites. The elites constitute an infinitesimal number of Nigerians. The people that are defending the present dispensation also constitute, a negligible few in this country. Look at the wider society. Go to the rural areas. Look at cost of accommodation, housing. It has gone up there. And people, very soon, there will be crisis. And it is that time that Nigerians will now know, yes. So what it tells me, government should look at what is going on in the society and begin to do the right things. Otherwise, the coalition will get some momentum. They are already getting momentum because of the state of the economy.
We'll talk about the coalition, hopefully, today, before the end of the program. But let's go to Abuja now, where we have Professor Ridwan Adeyemi, who is head of mass communication. Yes, Professor Ridwan, would like for you to unmute your microphone when you want to speak. Well, he's associate professor of mass communication, and he's based in Abuja. Professor, good morning to you. Welcome to the conversation. Please do unmute your microphone, and I would like for you to react to the conversation that you've been following happening right here in the studio, especially with regards to this administration inheriting a bad economy. And also, we had a conversation earlier in the day when we talked about trust deficit in this administration. A lot of Nigerians, according to a poll organized on social media. Let's have your broad reaction.
Thank you very much. Well, good morning, viewers and their colleagues. I actually listened to what some of my colleagues there said, what they said, but I tend to disagree with them because I feel that they are not actually appreciating the facts on ground. The fact on ground is that the former administration is quite different from this administration. That is one. Yeah, I mean, we are looking at a system as a whole.
Okay. System
of governance. Having said that, if you look at the indices, I mean, as at the time this present government took over, the country was down. And like my colleague there said, I listened to Suludu when he made an analysis, an informed analysis, an academic respected professor and an expert in economics and finance, where he said this country was drained to the dead point and that it was almost collapsing. Now, it takes somebody who is actually courageous to inherit such a situation. And we can see the point everybody is talking about is subsidy. All the presidential aspirants at that time agreed to the fact that subsidy was actually a scam. And if we agree on that it is a scam, then what do we do with the scam? I mean, we are living fake life. We are not living realistic lives. We are living on other people's wealth, on borrowings, I mean, internally and externally. So the high time we stop that, the better. And we have started that. If you want to change from one situation to the other, you should expect some pains, and that's what we are going through. I will pray that it get better.
Professor Ridwan Adeyemi, you talked about Nigeria also. You say something about us living fake life, and then some persons, some selected individuals are the ones milking Nigeria or sucking us dry. Is there any more justification for the whole nation now to be thrown into suffering or into pains over what a selected few actually are the ones benefiting from? Why is it that the government, or what do you think that makes the government not to look to the direction of squashing or making these selected few persons who have been profiteering or profiting from this issue of subsidy, for them to pay for it, than throwing the whole nation, over 200 million people into, well, I say suffering at this point in time?
Sister, the fact is that it's a whole system. You cannot separate, some entities. we are all in this boat. When we had the feeling, some Nigerians benefited, peasant Nigerians benefited from the so-called subsidy, the oil subsidy. They will buy cheap, go and sell there. I don't know, not Nigerians. So when the pains come, it will go around. It's unfortunate. But the fact is this, you see, the earlier we face fact, the better. And if you continue to do the blame game, we will not get anywhere. We have seen that this government, for instance, has been able to turn things around.
All right, then.
The subsidy, it is related to the states. All the states now have more money than they used to have. Now, most of their debts have been paid off. The debt of the nation has been paid off. Now, not only that, some social schemes are coming up with the student loan and some other things. Now, all we need to do is to call for more. And look, government, this is the area we need to do more. The area of food supply. How do we get, more food to the society? And particularly, excuse me, we need to understand that it is not the government. There are some saboteurs among Nigerians who are in this. How come are we importing rice? That we warrant that the price just go up. Some people are into hoarding. They hoard this thing in order to inflict pains, to call this government a bad name. Now, we don't have to be, sympathizers of ourselves. The blame game will not help us.
You made a great point when you're talking about exactly. Professor. Now, I also like to get your opinion on the fact you talked about debt and all that. Fuel subsidy being taken out for Nigeria now to stop borrowing, and we could recall that when the time was actually there, Nigeria's debt stood at 2024 thereabout at 121.67 trillion, but now we're standing at 149. So has the borrowing actually ended? And on the part of importation of rice and all that, I would just like to get your opinion on that too. Why is it that Nigerians, who we know, we have arable lands, we have vast land in Nigeria, yet people are not going there to cultivate? Why should we depend on importation of arables like rice for our survival?
Let me ask you a funny question. You and the Nigerian population, what is the number of farmers? What is the number of farmers, the ratio of farmers to those who are not farming? Everybody wants, city jobs. Okay. Even if you are not qualified, they want city jobs.
All right.
We are abandoning the farm, and the agriculture has gone even beyond using, old technologies. You can even farm your houses.
All right.
Professor
Ridwan, thank you very much for your contribution. But some Nigerians would also say we had farmers, the same number of farmers in the past, but we're able to still produce food and distribute. Now, you talked about allocations, states getting more due to the removal of subsidy. But yesterday, the news broke that 10 states were gunning for more loans, trying to borrow about 417 billion naira, despite the higher allocation. Help me understand this very quickly, and then I'll take responses from the studio before we wrap up this conversation.
Everybody is from one state or the other. Let us get down to these our state governors and ask questions. Let's ask questions from our state governors, from our representatives. Everything should not be at the doorstep of the president. He has done his part, and he's still doing it. What are they using these funds for? What are they? Most of these funds are not being used for developmental purposes. This is where you are from a state, I'm of a state. Let us ask this question from our state. What is going on there?
All right, then.
By the time we decentralize, our agitations, things will get better.
All right.
They are holding this money. Where are this money going to? Some have triple, some have the multiples.
All right, thank you very much. Let's ask our state governors. All right, Barrister Darlington, quickly, your reaction and the concluding thoughts in 1 minute.
Moses, Tinubu did not remove subsidy. Tinubu did not remove any subsidy in 2023 because there are incontrovertible facts that since 2023, 300,000 barrels of crude oil have been set aside every day to pay for subsidy. As I'm talking to you today, NNPC have told the federal government that if they don't pay them 7.7 trillion naira subsidy money, they will down tools. And that one should be paid in 210 days. I think that was in March.
That was before the change in administration.
Good. We discussed it here on this platform. Up to today, nobody has come to contradict it. Up to today, nobody. So what is this?
Barrister, your 1 minute is up. Thank you very much.
I don't
1 minute.
No,
We're having concluding thoughts now.
I want to tell the prof that I don't buy his facts.
No, well, that's his opinion, and you have yours.
Yeah. But I don't give you facts. I'm not talking anything. Facts.
That's okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Barrister. Mazi Amobi,
yeah.
Let's have your concluding
Thank
thoughts.
you. The prof talked about hoarding. Why hoarding? What leads to hoarding? Is it not inadequacy? So why do we have inadequacy? So these are proposals for the government to think about. You should produce food. If you produce enough, there will be no need for hoarding. If you hoard, you lose your deposits. Thank you.
All right, and we also, let's quickly go back to Dr. Jude Emecheta, and let's get your reaction, concluding thoughts on this subject as we wrap up. Dr. Jude.
Yeah, what I will just submit is that the federal government should really look at how to fight terrorism, clear these guys from our farms. If they clear these people from our farms, the farmers will go back to their farms in the north. Probably will have a little more tomato, have a little more onions, and some of these products will be available. That will also help us ameliorate the problem of this economic hardship. That's my submission on this.
Very much, Dr. Jude Emecheta. We do appreciate you for your time and your thoughts. We understand that we have to let you go now. We appreciate you once again. Thank you very much. Now let's get into our third conversation. Gentlemen, we'd like you, other gentlemen, to stay with us as we get into another conversation, talking about the coalition talks. ADC accuses Tinubu's allies of secret meeting with coalition members to destabilize party. Let's talk about this when we come back. Join us again. Well, the African Democratic Congress has accused the Tinubu's administration of attempting to destabilize the opposition through covert political tactics. Now, the party raised alarm over a secret meeting allegedly held by federal officials with former ADC state chairman and key party members in the Northeast and Northwest, claiming the aim was to intimidate and divide the party rather than pursue peace or national security. The ADC says the move is a deliberate attempt to weaken its leadership and disrupt its growing influence as a credible opposition. The party warned that such actions threaten democratic principles and could push Nigeria towards one-party rule. It's called on President Tinubu to restrain his appointees and reaffirm his commitment to upholding a fair and open democratic space. Now, we still have with us, of course, Barrister Darlington Agumo. We have Professor Ridwan Adeyemi, who joins us virtually from Abuja. And we right here in the studio, we have Mazi Amobi Iheburu as well. Now, I would like to start off with Professor Ridwan Adeyemi. Now, when the coalition started, I mean, and then the coalition, the ADC's presidential candidate in the 2023 election, Ibe Kachuku, came up and started talking. Somebody said something that, look, this is the beginning of trouble for the coalition. And some other persons were of the opinion that being against whatever opposition party, speaking from within a party against the party, is a sure way of getting attention and making money. Now, Professor El-Rufai has also pontificated that the APC has its clause in all opposition parties, ensuring that these parties don't stand, planting its men, giving them funds. In fact, there was a time there were accusations that the NSA and some other APC party members were meeting with opposition before we saw a massive defection. How do you react to this conversation that the ADC seems to be, at the brink right now, with party members from the APC infiltrating the party?
Thank you very much. Well, it's politics. And one should respect, various strategies and tactics. But concerning the issue of the APC, the ADC, yes, I approve that I'm of the opinion that there should be an opposition. But then, what type of opposition are we talking about? What are the credentials of those in the opposition? That is a concern for Nigerians. If it had been, a case where you have youths, in professional work coming up to challenge, the present government, fine. But these are all, colleagues. Most of them have participated in bringing Nigeria to its present position. You talk about the former people. The concern of Nigeria is that they do not have the credentials, to actually lead this nation to a higher level. So that is the point.
Okay.
Opposition, yes, is legitimate to have opposition, but Nigerians want to see, different, set of people who are coming with new ideas, not this whole set of people with, ideas. Most of them, we know their colors, we know their style.
Okay.
We know what they've been able to do in the past. So we are not excited about this opposition.
All right then. Thank you very much, Professor. Mazi, let's have your reaction to the accusation that the APC is infiltrating the opposition.
I think the APC
and the persons that made up the opposition.
I think the APC is in a panic mood. That is the best way to describe APC presently. Before now, they were saying, I can't have a credible opposition. There's nothing about, until these guys pulled a very fast one on them. Saying the colors or the character or whatever of the people that constituted ADC does not hold water. What is important to Nigerians is that we have an opposition, and a viable one for that matter. If APC is not panicky, they shouldn't be doing what they are doing. The PDP have been shredded, as it were, the Labour Party fledgling, as it were, and all that. Now we have something to hold on to. Should give that. It is Nigerian people that will really determine whether the ADC, the coalition, is worth it or not. It's not for APC, who are the ruling party, to determine, the credibility or otherwise of whatever, the coalition is going through. I think the Nigerian people are better for it. You will see that with the coming up of ADC, the government will be put on their toes. That is the basic tenets of opposition politics, that you put the government on their toes, put them on the hot seat, and the ultimate beneficiaries will be the Nigerian people and all that. So I think the coming up of ADC is credible, is what is welcomed. The government will have a run for their money.
Some have said politicians are, that we recycle politicians. We've had the same politicians from 1999. They've moved from one party to another. We've had the same politicians. What's your reaction to that?
What did we have in 2015? when APC was everywhere in terms of opposition? Weren't they the old political, old horses? They were. So in Nigeria, politics, they don't retire so easily. And they begin to build walls between the youths, like Prof was trying to say, they are not used and all that. There is a big gap, a gulf between the youths and the elites. So for you to transit from being a youth to real politician, it takes quite some while. And politics, you don't have age retirement. So by the time you set your representative, these people are always there and all that. So I think what APC did in 2015 is what ADC is trying to do. And I do not see anything wrong with that.
Barrister, how strong do you think the ADC as a party is at this point in time? That they are yet, even Nigerians are yet to see their muzzle, but they're already crying that there are infiltrations here and there from the APC. If the party actually have a strong will and they also have a strong ideology, how will it be possible for someone from another party to infiltrate and disintegrate this particular party at this point in time?
If APC is not afraid, I don't see why they should be holding meeting with the ADC party members.
So it's not right for us to ask
that
if
assuming it is true.
No, today on the cover page of Vanguard, the presidency, that was what the ADC allies were saying, that they're alleging that the presidency was plotting to destabilize the party, holding meeting with their, party officials and all that.
Please, how come, if it is not true, Labour Party is accusing APC of destabilizing them? PDP is accusing APC of destabilizing them. And now the newly formed the ADC is accusing the same APC of destabilizing them. So, you mean all these people are lying against APC? Meanwhile, they have not come to give us credible evidence that they are not involved in this thing. I mean, credible evidence that they are not involved in destabilizing any party. More so, when INEC is dancing to the tune of APC in what they are doing.
But is there anything wrong legally with the infiltration conversation that we're having now?
Now, let me tell you, if there is a set out rule and standard for a game, please, if you violate that game, what happens? You know the story of Watergate in America, the so-called Watergate that brought down Richard Nixon.
Right.
He was eavesdropping to the conversation of an opponent. That is, you are listening to what your opponent is saying. He denied it until evidence came out.
All right, Barry, so I think that to be a concluding thought.
So what I'm saying is that what these people are doing, because they have the power of the port, they can bribe anybody, they can infiltrate, they can do whatever. Yeah. It will cause problem.
Okay, thank you so much, Barry.
Mark my word, it will cause problem.
Thank you so
much.
How
many parties now? 3 of them. Okay.
Thank you, Barry, for let's get your concluding thought maybe in 30 seconds, Mazi Amobi.
I think, like I stated earlier on, the coalition politics is welcomed. It's a welcome development. Okay. If the APC is doing right, they have no reason to worry about opposition. The Nigerian people are better for it. Thank you.
All right. Professor Ridwan, let's get your concluding thoughts in 30 seconds.
I feel that opposition is welcome, but I want to encourage young minds, new faces with new ideas, but not these old cadets. I mean, old cadets. I mean, who have actually brought Nigeria to its knees. We need professionals to come up and offer themselves and new ideas.
Okay.
With that, we have, something to choose from, but not this set of people, because they have started with fraud. The ADC Alliance started with fraud. We saw the story. A chairman that has been outlawed coming to sell it to them.
Thank you.
So we need a clean slate, a transparent opposition.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor Ridwan Oderemi, for your contribution. Thank you, Barrister Darlington Agomo, also for being part of today's show. And Mazi Amobi Aguhoro. Iheboro. Thank you so much for being part of today's conversation. And before we leave, I will have reactions. Let's just take a few of them. There are a lot of them here. Let's take a few of them from the YouTube. This actually is from Adewale Johnson. There was indeed a country Free Mind with Ernest. We already know, okay? And then they have so many other ones. Raymond says, okay, Tinubu brought us back to where Buhari left us, and a whole lot more of other ones won't be able to take them due to the constraint of the time factor, right? On behalf of the backroom staff, my colleagues in the studio, Moses Humphrey and David Edwin, I am Fina. Okay, you could do well to join the newspaper review on top of the hour 10 a.m. here on Voice of the People Television. And in whatever thing you do, endeavor to be a patriotic citizen. And this is where we'll end today's show. Do well to join us tomorrow again for another interesting episode. Bye for now.